whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, between my brethren, kind and good. So I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
Oh yes, my Straight Talk family. Whenever you hear that theme song, you know it's time for another edition of Straight Talk, and time for me to bid you good night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and to say good night to the entire Caribbean region. As Chico gets out, Patches comes in, and I, in the process, would hail all those who are on the World Wide Web, logged on to zizonline.com, those in particular in the Kittian and the Division diaspora. There are many in Europe. There are those in Africa, Asia, and there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I am at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and in some cases I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings would be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And my Straight Talk family, it seemed as though it's a long time since we last communicated. We apologize for last week Thursday, and we apologize for the tardy start tonight. Last week Thursday, the people's business was being conducted in the House of Assembly, so we were late. And this Thursday, the people's business not too long ago concluded, so we are a little bit tardy again tonight. But Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's, in the process, continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. And that's in particular for the first-timers. And for those first-timers, we must inform you as well that Straight Talk is a participative program. And by that I mean we entertain your calls and we include your emails as well. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. Straight Talk, if you're a first timer, is heard every Monday and Thursday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I must forewarn you that this would be our last program for this year. So I'll give you the opportunity to extend greetings to your loved ones. That's Christmas greetings, wherever you are. And we'll have a brief discussion as well. And I must, in the process, extend condolences. I just heard of the passing of Mr. Valentine Grant from Keon. And so we extend condolences to his dear wife, his children, Valencia and Glenn. What about the local St. Kitts Sheriff, Cecil? I haven't heard him or heard from him in a long time, and I was not even aware it was Cromwell Williams's father. So I extend condolences to all of these friends of mine, and in one case, Cromwell, my former co-worker as well. In church last week, Sunday, not Sunday gone, the Sunday before, I learned of the passing of Miss Vivian Rollins as well, who passed and is gone to the great beyond. Was regular member of the Zion Moravian Church. And today I heard of Elia's passing, Elia Jeffords. I heard the name Elia Jeffords, and I thought I knew that name, but I found out this was my good friend Elia, who has gone to the great beyond. She will miss the 50th anniversary of Carnival. And I can tell you, the 50th anniversary will miss her as well. But Elia, her children, we want to extend condolences to her entire family. And you see, you understand that death do not discriminate. So we have to give God thanks for life at all times, and just live clean, let your works be seen every step along the way. Tonight, my Straight Dog family, I also want to remind you and remind those who may not know that as we embark on the 50th anniversary of Carnival, and as we embark on Christmas, just remind you that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis reviewed its policies as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic and decided to revise two significant measures at the ports of entry after much consultation with the relevant health and tourism officials and representatives of the COVID-19 task force. And we anticipated these changes long ago. We anticipated these changes, but the government withheld the easing of these restrictions, and of course, gathered the necessary, the adequate information, in particular on the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 disease. Here in New York, there's lots of scare, lots of fear, I should say, as it relates to the contraction of this variant. And for those who are unvaccinated, whether we like to hear it or not, it is fact that the unvaccinated are the ones who propel the hospitalization and the deaths as relates to the COVID-19 pandemic. But this Omicron variant was first identified in South Africa. But getting back to the measures, I can report that effective Saturday, the 11th December 2021, all fully vaccinated passengers 12 years and over arriving in St. Kitts and Nevis with a negative PCR test taken within 72 hours of arrival will no longer be required to undergo a quarantine period or further testing upon arrival. And I want to make that point because some friend of mine called me just the other day and we had this debate. But in fact, you still need, even though you're vaccinated, you still need that negative PCR test, which must be uploaded onto the immigration form that's online. So it's important we make that distinction. Not because the quarantine is lifted, not because you're vaccinated, you just can't jump on a flight and go to St. Kitts. The airlines are not going to allow you on that flight. So too, coming back to the US, you need that test 24 hours before arriving in the US. But the protective barriers, I should say, the protective barriers at Posante that were mounted for the safety of citizens and residents, they were also removed on the 11th December, and Posante is now accessible to all. Of course, this action has no doubt started to generate greater business activity in the area, and that too is good news as well, my straight dog family. And I have no doubt that the decisions taken by the government on these two measures were based on science, along with the advice from, I should say, local health experts who themselves are usually guided by reputable international, regional, and international agencies like CARPHA, PAHO, and the WHO. So, St. Kitts and Nevis have dropped all quarantine and on-arrival testing requirements for fully vaccinated travelers. And that's good news. But remember, you have to get that COVID test prior, 72 hours prior to boarding that flight for St. Kitts and or Nevis. So commendation must be given to the Team Unity government for its continuing management of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let us recall, from the onset, lots of criticism was levied at the government. Lots of criticism was levied at the Prime Minister. But Prime Minister Harris promoted from day one, promoted what he called a life first strategy. And that certainly has brought us where we are today. That too is commendable.
On the 24th of March 2020, we were all in shock at the news of the first two imported cases of COVID-19 into our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. As the Prime Minister and leader of this country, for me it was a call to action, and I sought to calm the nation, knowing that we had done all the necessary preparedness for this eventuality. We kept science always at the core of every decision we made and were not swayed by the detractors. Our strategy had as its main principle saving the lives of our people. It was a life-first strategy.
And that life-first strategy has brought us, I believe, where we are today. Many oppose that strategy. Many oppose the COVID-19 measures that were introduced by the team in the government. But today, sadly, some lives have been lost. However, when you examine the latest COVID-19 situation report, every objective citizen and or resident and anyone who have examined the report as it relates to St. Kitts Nevis, but every objective citizen in particular must feel proud that we have a leader and a government that put lives first. And that, as I said, is commendable by Straight Talk family. Because when we examine the figures, when we look at the latest report, the report of today, one can glean that there are some 6 confirmed cases and some 15 active cases. But that's not bad news, I submit. But more importantly, the vaccination rollout program, 81.1% of the targeted population have received a first dose, and 75.1% has received its second dose. And it was not mandatory. It was all voluntarily. And the people of St. Kitts must be commended. So some 41,390 doses have been administered in St. Kitts, and 13,019 doses administered in St. Kitts. And there have been some booster doses as well. 1,422 persons have received a booster dose, or a third dose, if you can call it that. So the total fully vaccinated, 25,445 persons, and the total doses administered to date, 54,409 persons. So forget them. Forget all those who, the naysayers, as we call them. We have just to ignore them, because they cannot defy the stats. They cannot manipulate the data. But that's what's happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, and that's good news. It's good news for the economy. And I sat in the gallery last week, Tuesday, the gallery of the National Assembly, and listened to the 2022 budget address by Prime Minister Harris. And that address and those budget estimates and plans are expected to pave the way for recovery and growth in St. Kitts and Nevis. And you ask yourselves, what is a budget? I hear someone ask. And I was taken aback when I heard a former deputy leader, former deputy prime minister, provide this definition about
budget is the strategy, strategizing, the focus, the emphasis, and so on.
And you know, I said to myself, how absurd that can be when you hear that comment. But for those in the straight talk audience, a budget is an estimation of revenue and expenses over a specified period of time. It is forecast, future, and is usually compiled and re-evaluated on a periodic basis. That is why, in the context of Tuesday's sitting of Parliament, which concluded today, it is referred to as budget estimates. Now, the term budget can be applicable to even us as individual persons. It can refer to or applicable to a group of people, a business. But in our conversation tonight, we are referring to a government. So we can all surmise that the government budget is a statement of expected receipts and expenditure of the government during what is called a fiscal year. It is a tool used to maintain economic stability. The fiscal year in government covers the period of January to December, during which time the trend of growth in the economy can be assessed so as to monitor and or improve the standard of living of the people. The 2022 budget estimates were presented under the theme Investing in Our People, Putting St. Kitts and Nevis Back on Track.